Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Say Report. I'm your host, Devon Decker, and joining me, my host compatriot, C. John Saroway.
Yo.
Oh, man, I did not have enough breath in my lungs to do a full C. John blast. I am a little disappointed in myself.
I was waiting to see how long you were willing to go, and I'm surprised. You definitely went further than I thought you would.
I was out of air in my lungs. They're like knocking on the door, like, excuse me, we cannot do this no more, sir.
Oh God!
And I'm like, lungs, you gotta carry through, lungs.
You know what you need for podcasting? You need lungs. Oh man.
Also, take care of your vocal cords. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Say Report. As you saw, this is the Kirby Report, and it's actually not about the Kirby you're probably thinking about.
You cut my joke off at its legs.
Don't play test jokes. Don't play test jokes when we're not recording.
I thought we were recording. It wasn't play testing. Oh, everybody, I'm so sorry. I just yelled into your ears. I feel so bad. We went right on that one.
Everybody that just had Siegen yell into your ears, though, know that he was yelling specifically at me, not you. We still love you. But it's called the Kirby Report because today, the day that we're recording, the day that this will release, August 28th, 2017, is the 100th birthday of Jack Kirby, prolific comic book artist.
Woohoo! Yes.
Like, you know Stan Lee, but like Stan Lee was the idea man. Jack Kirby drew the guys that you know and love.
Yeah, we were running down a list earlier. Can we try and avoid anything that's not on it? Let's see. We said Hulk, right?
Yep,
Avengers.
He definitely did Hulk in the Avengers.
X-Men, like a number of the X-Men that you think of because of Jack Kirby's vision of them.
Yeah, Thor. I mean, Thor is really where it comes to fruition for me.
Okay. What is it about Thor that really?
Well, first of all, like Kirby's artwork is the reason why I read Thor as a kid. Thor looked like just so different from any other comic book that I ever held in my hands.
Yeah, and I guess maybe because of the nature of the stories that they were dealing with, right? Like he was able to do like really epic like characters.
Right. It's just like so fantastic, and like that's the one where like he really let you flow creatively, and that works for me. But also one of the main reasons why I know who Jack Kirby even is because the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you only think of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you think the cartoon, right? You think the cartoon,
right?
But it was also a comic book series, and that's how it became a cartoon.
Yeah.
And they you think about a lot of the things that happen in comics now. Mirage, the studios behind the Ninja Turtles, they totally led the charge on a lot of the crazy things we think of now. Like, like one-shots, like one-off comic adventures.
Invented by one-issue stories.
Yeah. Invented by them and called micro-series. And so we don't have time to do a whole thing. Let's do a micro-series on Raphael. And the Raphael book is actually what you know and love from that Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, the whole interaction with Casey in the park. Oh, Jose Canseco bet? Tell me you didn't pay money for this. Inspired directly from the micro series of Raphael. Now Donatello's micro series April has a apartment in the antique shop.
Yeah.
And she rents it out to a failed cartoonist named Kirby. And Kirby, in this particular story, it just in the basement where he's living, found a magical crystal. And he put it on the end of his pencil because he thought it looked cool. This all really happens in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles micro series Donatello. He puts it on the end of the pencil because he thinks it looks cool, and then he draws something, and the crystal causes that something to come to life.
And that's how the Marvel Universe was born.
And the name of the character, the style of his creations in that world are all heavily inspired by Jack Kirby's work. So like honestly, that was my like where I like really learned who Jack Kirby was, and then I connected the dots that like, oh, that's why I like Thor, because it's very similar. And
Yeah,
that's why I was in
man.
line to go see the Thor movie, and
I
why
am
like
just
as excited as I am for Ragnarok because they're taking it in a new direction, I'm a little afraid they're going to lose the heart of the character to basically guardianize it.
I don't know, man. That's a they. I think the thing is they've been struggling to find a heart for that character, and I think that they've actually maybe discovered a way to do it. So we'll see. Because I get like being a fan of the old ones, why somebody would be really nervous, but I am super excited to see them go in a
Oh,
new
dude,
direction.
I'm just excited to see Hulk again. I love the
Yeah,
Hulk,
but I'm
and
not gonna let
especially
you
Mark
just.
Ruffalo.
I'm not gonna let you just barrel past what you just did. You somehow brought yet another conversation around to the Ninja Turtles. And I just want to make sure that Jack Kirby gets his due, and it wasn't trumped by yet another turtle story.
Okay, then before we give Jack Kirby his final due, while I was making it about Ninja Turtles again, right? Uh, you said the exact Siegen quote was, "I love comic books." Now that's a very volatile statement, and let me tell you why. So the micro series Donatello that happened in the very first volume of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic books, right? Coming out
Okay.
in the late '80s, right? '84 was when the first drawing was done, and then like it rose through that. And then '87 the cartoon happened, and that's when things really blew up for Turtle Nation. Years later, right? A volume 2, a volume 3, we're in volume 4 of Ninja Turtle stories, right? Peter Laird, one of the original creators of Ninja Turtles, is doing the stories that he always wanted to tell. The Turtles are older, they're dealing with different stories, and like he's fleshing out the world that he and Kevin Eastman created. And that is where an issue came into existence, and it is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Volume 4, issue number 22. And in that issue, it is revealed how that crystal got into the basement of April O'Neil's father's antique shop. Because that's what they did, right? I'm reminded of Homestar Runner, where Strongbad's like, how come you always want to know the origin of everything? Right? It's just like this true thing. Like, we just want origin stories about origin stories. But rather than just like the crystal was put there by like magic, because it's a magic crystal, April's father was, I guess, a cartoonist a little bit, like on the side, like as a hobby. And he, in the antique shop, was sold a magic pen that had the crystal inside of it. Now, you're not thinking anything of this right now, right? April's dad
Wait.
got the pen.
Okay. I'm doing the math on this. Is that why Kirby was drawn to put it onto his drawn to put it on the end of his pencil earlier?
I have no idea. I have
Is that
no
supposed to be the
idea.
implication there? Okay, anyway, so
So, at the time, living in the second time around antique shop is April O'Neil's father, April O'Neil's mother, and April O'Neil's older sister, Robin O'Neil. There's no April yet.
okay.
So, in the storyline, April has just failed to conceive a child. So she asked their time-traveling friend Renette. I promise this is every 32 episodes is when I will go this deep into Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. You don't need to hear this again for like another half a year. I swear to God, listeners, stick with us. We have other things to talk about. But Kirby's birthday brought this out of me. I need to share this with someone. And even if it's just with Siegen, I gotta get it out there.
I'm listening, man. I'm deep in this.
So they contact their time-traveling friend Renette, who is a time mistress, sorceress thing. And April is like, I need to know why I can't conceive a child. So Renette takes April back to the past in the form of a cockroach so that they cannot affect the timeline. And they are scurrying around the walls of the antique shop as her father gets this pen. And it is revealed that April's mother is also having problems conceiving a second child.
Okay.
Right? So you're following
Okay.
along right now, right?
I'm there. I'm there.
It runs in the family.
This is a really weird turtle story, by the way. But anyway,
dude, you next time that we are like face to face, I might have a scan of this issue because of how crazy it is. It's not done like a traditional comic book. It's like a freaking novel, like with little pictures to support almost full pages of text.
oh my god.
So April's mother is having problems conceiving, and her father has this pen, right? So he uses it to draw the child that he would want to have if his wife could conceive. That child comes to life, Sejan!
Oh my god. So April O'Neil is a magic paper child?
Well, Sejan, unfortunately, I did not mention this earlier. Kirby's drawings, after about a half hour or so, would fade away. And the actual crux of that is that he drew a portal that never faded, and Donatello and Kirby in that story use it to go to the world of all those drawings. And they fight, and then Kirby ends up deciding to stay there where he's basically a god. That's the story. So they draw this child, right? And he's like, it's a miracle from heaven. We have the child we always wanted. And things go well until the child fades away. So that baby couldn't have been April, right? Because April is alive in modern times. So he draws it again, this time like with a lot of detail, and he thinks more about it. And the child comes to life again. And things are going great, right? Things are going fantastic with this child. And like so much that the child is there for 6 months before it fades away again. So again, at this point...
a dark story.
April O'Neil is not a magic paper baby.
Okay.
Because the two that we thought might be April, right? Have faded away. So... her father learns, though, that the more detail and care he puts into the drawing, the longer it lasts. So he draws a third child. And this one, again, lives, thrives, until its 1-year birthday, when it fades away.
Christ almighty, what is going on?
Right? So this has happened 3 times. 3 times they've drawn into existence a baby, they've begun to love it, and then it just disappears. Now, you know who I think that really screws up? This is an IMHO moment, right? Robin O'Neil, who had 3 sisters, who just then disappeared. You never had a sister. What are you talking about?
Oh, God. That is upsetting.
Right? So that's the thing. So April is there this whole time watching this, right? And as much as I want to say that, like in King of the Hill, once they got Ladybird and they calmed down and they weren't trying to conceive a child, that's when Bobby came along. No, the fact that they had lost 3 children, 3 magic children, did not say like, well, maybe like fate is just saying we don't get to have another child, and we'll love Robin as much as it is, and and you think like maybe, oh my God, they're going to conceive, right? April has to happen. April is there watching all of this happen as a cockroach. God damn, that sounded crazy. And I've skipped the part. I have skipped the part where, while like stuff that is inconsequential is happening, the hindbrains of the roaches take over. So April, as a cockroach, has mated and had children that her conscience moves into. Because of course it does. Because we just needed one more layer, Pete. Right?
Oh my god. Oh my god. This story's insane. I feel like this is like a creepypasta where at some point I realize you've been like eating my brain for the last like 10 minutes.
Wouldn't that be something? All true, all real. I can show you. We have at least 3 copies of it in my house right now. So
when does April come into the story?
Well, we're getting there, right? We're getting there, right? So they think that they've conceived a child. April's mother is late, right? So you're thinking, okay, right, so this is it, right? April has to come along. Turns out a false positive. She's not pregnant. She cannot get pregnant. Death knell for any more O'Neills. Right? And you think...
Wait.
Yes, please, no, by all means.
But, like, that can't be because of April.
Right?
Okay.
April still exists, right? Well, maybe they adopt, right? That'd be nice, right? In this world where, like, population and overcrowding is a thing, maybe we're going to tack a nice, like, orphan, go adopt a child who needs a loving family if you have the love to give story. Siege, and that's not what happens, no. Basically, the way that the magic pencil her father got was you put something into it in order to draw. Like you put lead into it, right? So he is so distraught when he has lost another chance at having a second child that he goes to his drawing room and puts ink inside of the pencil for the first time. And he draws the most detailed drawing he can of the daughter that he wants to have. And maybe it's because of faith, maybe it's because of trust, maybe it's because, you know, it was the right type of ink at that time.
No.
That child never faded away.
No. This is not possible.
So April O'Neil
O'Neil's not real?
Well, she's not real because she's a fictional character. But in the world of the comic book Mirage Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, April O'Neil is a drawing. And that is why she cannot conceive children.
She's a dirty paper baby.
Thank Biro. Thank Bic.
Oh my
Pentel.
God.
Yeah. So
that is insane.
Right? I love comic books.
I love comic books so much. That's just nuts, man. And like the fact that that is a thing. Oh my God. The fact that that is a thing in the background now that I now have to deal with is upsetting and beautiful at the same time.
Now the problem is that a lot of people can't see the beauty of it, right? They only see the upset, because that is the part where if you talk to most Ninja Turtle fans who celebrate the entire thing, not just the cartoon or the movies, that's sort of their jump the shark moment.
That's what they consider the jump the shark moment. Got it.
Yeah, just so you're aware. But that diatribe that took us. Do you remember when we drove to Alabama for spring break?
Oh man, yeah. I totally do.
And we left
for ribs.
For ribs. For ribs at the Dreamland.
Yep, that's what we went for.
Dude, were they worth it? Were those ribs worth it?
They were amazingly worth it.
Thank you.
At like midnight, just ribs and white bread at midnight was amazing.
So good. So freaking good. Remember on that drive, we were like going on the highway until after we left New Jersey, and then we were in Pennsylvania, and for some reason we got off the highway and thought surface streets were a good idea. And that's when we popped a tire. No, we didn't pop a tire. We popped a tire in Virginia. We went off the road.
Yeah, we went off the road into a ditch that we couldn't tell was there because of the snow that had mysteriously started overnight.
Jeez. That's what this whole thing about April O'Neil being a drawing was. And Kabuza! Because...
Yep.
Kabuza. We'll have to explain that one at a later date. Kabuza.
That's for paying fans. That's for paying listeners. That's what that is. Oh man.
But yes, Jack Kirby, prolific comic book artist. You are the inspiration, my friend. You changed comic books, and you are the reason why, like, 90% of the conversations on this very show happen. So from the Say Report, we salute you.
Yeah. And while we're talking about comic books, like, here's one that he is directly involved in helping along. What's going on with Defenders? Devon, you watched it.
I watched the first episode of Defenders because I thought, Why don't I start making good on some of these promises I always make?
Excellent. I too have watched the very first episode, and we were going to compare notes, but we wanted to do that for everybody. So where do we start, man? Okay, so what have you actually seen up till this point, just so that I have in my head exactly what you know?
I have seen all of the Marvel comic movies.
Okay.
I have seen all of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I have seen all of Agent Carter. I have seen 3 episodes of Daredevil Season 1 and 1 episode of Jessica Jones.
Okay, okay. So, what kind of jumped out at you as like what the fuck moments for this time around? That's what I'm really interested in. Like, was there anything that like kind of really confused you, or do you feel like you kind of got what was going on?
Oh, I completely got everything that was going on. Do you know what my what the fuck moment was, Sejin?
What?
Here's the thing, I almost tweeted it out on our Twitter account. I almost texted it to you. But then I'm like, I need to save it. I need to save it until I'm in front of my microphone.
Okay,
Because
okay.
my what the fuck moment about Netflix's Marvel Defenders is how much it feels like the Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants movies.
Oh my God. Oh, that hurt a little, but I loved it. Okay, explain. I actually get what you're saying, but as people out there might not be as in love with the traveling pants as you and I are, we should maybe explain that a moment.
So I went to go see Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants with no prior knowledge of what was going to happen in that film. I just knew that all these girls found a pair of pants they fit into, and their summer adventures would be joined by this mystical pair of pants. They would each have it for 2 weeks, and then it would get shipped away to the next girl. There were only 4 girls, 4
I like Gary
defenders.
Marshall's version of the sister to the traveling pants. 4 girls,
4 girls, 1 pair of pants.
1 pair of pants.
4 defenders, 1 city. I mean,
Oh
like,
God.
but the beautiful thing about that movie, and the reason why I owned that movie, is because it's sort of each girl's story feels like its own film, but not just because of the story that's going on and the characters that are there, but the camera work and like the filters on the camera and the exposure of the lens. Like each one has a unique feel to it visually that really allows that film to stand out and make certain scenes where the girls are together after they've established that even more interesting and dynamic to watch, because you get to see from really whose perspective that particular moment is happening in.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
it apes
Okay.
that storytelling style.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, no, Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants, much deeper than you probably expected.
Hey, you're talking to a fan, man.
I know I'm
just
talking to a
saying.
fan. That was to the people listening to us talk about Sisterhood of the Traveling Pants. So the second that Defender starts, and it's the credit sequence, right? And it's like the green one, the yellow one, the blue one, the red one. I'm like, oh, okay. So each of them have one of the like primary colors. That's interesting, right? And it makes sense too. Like it's not a huge leap. Like Daredevil is very red, Iron Fist is green, and Luke Cage is yellow. And like
Right.
Jessica Jones, I don't know, like she's always kind of purple to me, but I think that might be the Netflix thing conflagrating my memories of her, because she
Yeah.
had sort of that like silver bodysuit when she like first hit the scene before she like got all jaded and stuff. But it works for me. I'm
Yeah.
okay that she's blue, right? It doesn't bother me that she's blue. And I'm actually happy that they didn't go with purple, because then it would feel like kind of out of left field.
Right. Yeah, yeah. When every other color is yeah.
And they do not just double down on each one of these people has a color, they triple down on it. Every time that there is a transition from one part of the story to the next, a color is prominently featured. And that is so that your brain subconsciously realizes, oh, it was red, so Daredevil's coming. Where's Daredevil?
It's yellow. It's yellow, so it's Luke Cage time because everything's got like a gold tint to it. Got it.
Yeah.
I actually totally picked up on that.
And the filtering has that same sort of traveling pants. Each one is like shot, but they're not shot in their own unique way. It's just like the filter is tinted more to whatever color has been assigned to that character. And that is all I could think of. And I think that's kind of good for me because I wasn't like super nitpicky because of that.
Yeah.
Like I was like, oh, okay, they did the traveling pants thing. I can get into this. And they're 4 characters that I know really well. Like there's not, just because I haven't watched those movies as a fan of comics and these 4 characters in general, I wasn't lost with anything that was going on. And I actually really liked the cute little moments in this first episode where they like tried to catch you up. Semi-spoilers for the first episode of The Defenders, possibly. But like when Matt Murdock goes to confessional and he's like, are you sure it's the life you love? Are you sure it's not someone from the life that you miss, Matt? And he's like, what, Elektra? And I'm like, oh, okay. That was subtle. That was real subtle, guys.
Subtlety has never been the key thing with these big team ups, though, right? Like, I mean, look at the Avengers films; not subtle at all.
Not subtle at all. And that's sort of that was really interesting to me. And I think my favorite moment in the entire thing, and it's so inconsequential, but like it totally worked for me, is like after Luke Cage and the Night Nurse bone, like hardcore fucking bone. There's a knock on the door, and a goddamn Misty Knight is there, and I'm like, holy shit, it's Misty Knight! Why would I know who that is? Why, like, just looking at this character, am I able to identify her when I have not seen the Luke Cage TV show? That's good. That is that is a show that is treating everybody like they're a fucking idiot with stuff like, are you sure you don't miss the woman you loved that you murdered, Matthew? Like, if you don't, this is why Daredevil's torn right now. This is his Natalie Imbruglia moment.
Yeah, man. Yeah, so that's I think one of my favorite things about the whole thing. I just really do love the way that it is a State of the Union address to its audience, right? Like it's just like, here is exactly what's going on with every character that you need to know. And what's awesome is that as a series, it gets the time to do that in a way that things like the Avengers don't, right? Well, it's why the Avengers is 3 hours long, right?
Yeah, exactly. But like, first of all, I'm in the middle of catching up on the Night Shift because I have the entire 4th season just like eating up space on my DVR. So I've been trying to finish the Night Shift. And over the weekend, someone finally sat me down and made me watch the first 3 episodes of BoJack Horseman Season 3. Because I just didn't watch it. I don't know how I missed it. But like, after I catch up on the Night Shift, and then I finish Season 3 of BoJack Horseman, I'm not going to lie to you, I'll probably go back to the Defenders.
Yeah, awesome, cool. I mean, I look forward to hear what you think about some of the later stuff that happens. Because the way that these shows kind of like ebb and flow and grow by the end of them is always really interesting to me. But yeah, I'm glad that you enjoyed it as much as you did. I really love the way that they laid all the groundwork out, and even the introductions for Sigourney Weaver, who I mean, they haven't been hiding it in their marketing, is playing the big bad this season, right? Like I didn't know that telling her story. She showed up. It's been a huge part of their market. There's an entire preview dedicated to her, like so they brought her in, which is actually if you've been watching the Netflix Marvel shows, one of their things that they do is the villain is always some huge like actor that you are aware of, right? Like I mean, fuck, the guy from Moonlighting was the one that was just in Moonlight was the one that was
Bruce
just
Willis?
in Luke Cage, right? yeah, Bruce Willis.
First of all, Mahershala Ali.
Yeah.
That's his name.
Nice.
He played Diamondback?
Move. No. Okay. He plays Cottonmouth.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, he plays Cottonmouth. Diamondback, who spoilers for Luke Cage. That reveal in turn happens like deep into the season. So he plays Cottonmouth.
That's cool. Also, like Miranda is definitely Alfre Woodard. So, like, even though I didn't watch any of Luke Cage, I knew exactly who Miranda was. Because, so, like, it was cool that like I have only knowledge of who these characters are based on my time spent with them in print, and it still like had me caught up. Sorry, back to Sigourney Weaver, who is totally just playing Dana from Ghostbusters, right?
Yeah, but like super jaded now because like no, she's playing the villain for the season, and they're doing that thing where they tell a really like like deep-seated story where like you kind of understand where they're coming from. But what's interesting is this might be the first time I think in any of the series where we're getting the villain's story right in pace with the team's story. Like usually it's like a reveal or it's a build in a way that you don't expect. But like I was saying with Luke Cage, it's a straight up like turnabout. At some point, the guy that you thought you were going to be caring about the entire season, you're not anymore. Like so the way that they've played with that in the past, they're not playing games this time. And I think this kind of goes back to what you were saying about how this is just not subtle. And I'm glad it's not, because all the other Netflix Marvel shows have felt very much like they're trying to put their stamp on like this is like a really well crafted program that just happens to be a comic book thing. This is the first time where it feels like Netflix is like, no, let's make a comic book thing well. Let's not make like a good thing comic booky, right? Like it's that difference that I really felt with this episode that I just haven't felt with any of the other ones.
And I gotta
It's
say,
maybe
it's
it
probably
might be,
why I like am interested in it because it's
yeah,
broad and
yeah.
yeah.
Well, and so I was going to say that maybe this is what they should have done with Iron Fist all along, as the goofier character of the whole group, like why they didn't go this way with that one. I mean, I guess saving it for when they were all together makes sense, but I think part of what was wrong with Iron Fist was the fact that it was taking itself too seriously and people just couldn't stomach that. And this doesn't feel like it's doing that in any way, which is good. That feels like a really good move. Anyway, yeah, I'm super excited. Defenders, man. I'm glad you watched it. I'm glad that you liked it.
Yeah. I think also the other thing that I thought of, and this is again sight unseen Luke Cage or Iron Fist, is that it was weird to split those two guys up. Because I always think of Heroes for Hire. Like you can't think of one of those characters without thinking of the other.
Hmm.
And that was something that I really dug, is that I'm like, these two guys are gonna finally come together, right? They're basically strangers. And I'm very excited for that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, and
Yeah.
then I wondered why like that wasn't the way they went, because you could have like the serious Luke Cage story, and then Iron Fist is, he can still be serious, but like played for more comedic relief.
Yeah. I'm excited, man, all around.
Good excitement. That's what matters.
But in the same vein with Netflix stuff, another Netflix show started this week that I kind of wanted to throw at you. Have you checked out Disjointed yet?
Oh, I really thought you were gonna say Death Note. No, I haven't
No,
seen
man.
Disjointed yet. What is Disjointed?
Disjointed is so Netflix has kind of dipped its toe into the sitcom like category a few times now, right? Their own personal kind of push was The Ranch. Did you ever check that one out
I watched the
with
first
Sam Elliott?
episode of The Ranch, and you know what it
Yeah.
felt like to me? It
What?
felt like Sam Shepard. Did he do True
Yeah, I was
West?
gonna say it was gonna be like yeah. I was gonna say Cowboy Mouth True West. Yeah, it felt like True West with a laugh track, right?
I'm just like, this is weird. And also, they're like half-hour episodes that feel like your whole fucking life has gone by.
Yeah, because they're true half hours, and on top of that, like the storytelling is really weird. Yeah, so Netflix has, they've adopted a bunch of sitcoms in their whole like Netflix original like title card, but not all of them are true originals. The Ranch was really kind of their first big one, where it was all built from the ground up. Well, this is their next one, Disjointed. So I was a little worried at first because I felt the same way about The Ranch. I was like it felt so awkward. But I gotta say, I think the smart move was this time they brought Chuck Lorre along to do this thing. I guess this whole thing is actually kind of his idea. So like, you want to make a sitcom, you know who you call, like, right?
Ghostbusters.
Yep, you call the
No,
Ghostbusters.
Chuck
No,
Lorre.
that sitcom didn't work.
I remember hearing that Chuck
Yeah.
Lorre had a show on Netflix. I didn't know that it had started yet. So that's very
It
interesting.
just came out.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
it just came out this week. Well, and so it feels very much like it's going to do. So Disjointed is all about weed. There's no other way to say it, right? Like it's all about an older woman, Kathy Bates, opening up I guess she's run a successful bakery and pharmacy for like a while, but I guess now it's officially legal, and that's like a whole part of the show is like her dealing with like being this like hippie growing up, owning this shop, and it being like this like thing against the establishment. But now the whole thing is now it's all become the establishment, and that's like her like plot line, I guess, for this season.
Yeah,
You
it
know, that's
sounds like her
the shtick for
beliefs
the
have
show.
become disjointed.
Haha, boom. Plus, she smokes a lot. Yeah, so like it's got this weird structure to it where it's kind of doing for weed culture what I feel like Big Bang Theory was geared at doing for nerd culture, and I don't know if that's a good thing or not, but we'll see, I guess. But it definitely feels like it's very much in that vein, right? The other really interesting thing about it, though, is that being on Netflix, they are allowed to play with the format just a little bit, and there's very much a weird adult swimmy element to it because they know people that are watching it are going to be indulging while they watch, right? Because that's what the whole point of the show feels like. So they actually do some weird like adult swim vignettes in the middle of scenes. It's really weird. Like they'll cut from like a really stereotypical like pratfall sitcom scene all of a sudden to like a Tim and Eric commercial, and then they'll cut back to just more like usual odd couple like madness. It's very very weird in that sense, but other than that, it's a pretty straightforward sitcom.
Minstrelizing is the word that I wanted to say.
There it is.
But I feel like I've done a lot of talking this episode, so I wanted you to complete your point.
No, I appreciate it.
Yeah, no,
I don't
definitely.
feel like you've talked enough. We have to have an entire episode where you just talk about turtles, really. I mean that.
Well, that'll probably be happening in September because, wink, wink, potential spoilers, working on a crossover episode with a couple of other podcasts. Primarily Bored with Friends, who I show up on quite often because Zach Dyer is still somehow tricking me into playing board games with him. And also the Fanholes podcast. They have already done some Ninja Turtle stuff, and they reached out to Board with Friends to talk about, the board game of Ninja Turtles. And I'm going to be on that episode, too, because, like, you think Ninja Turtles, you unfortunately think Devon Decker, if you're in the state of Rhode Island. There was a long time that at my local comic book shop, I was the turtle guy. So once all that rigmarole goes down, trust me, Sejan, we'll do an all Ninja Turtle episode. But moving past the Ninja Turtles, last week I gave you an opportunity, a choice, if you will, to hear about my PSA on MoviePass or to hear about my bucket list item. And we said we were going to put off the bucket list item. And I'm kind of glad that we did.
Oh, okay.
Because my bucket list item of seeing The Living End in concert remains unchecked.
Oh no!
You know what? Oh no!
Wait, so what happened? Last week you thought you were gonna get to go, and so you didn't get to go. That's where we stand right now.
There's a lot of factors that go into it. Primarily the fact that I'm not in high school anymore. The big story with The Living End. If you don't know The Living End, right? Pause this right now. YouTube The Living End, Prisoner of Society. Listen to that song. Fall in love. Go buy their first album, 1994's The Living End. It might be 98. I think it's 98. Buy The Living End. Because it is tip to tail one of the greatest punk albums that has ever been put to plastic.
What's the matter? You didn't want to go get your teeth knocked in a mosh pit?
They're not that band anymore. What's the matter is I listened to their 2016 release, and it felt less, let's go Ramones as a point, and more Coldplay. Which is a thematic change. I'm not gonna lie to that. And also, I'm being honest about it. The reason why I think the Living End album stands out to me as like what I would use to define punk rock music in my own life is because when you think about punk music, correct me if I'm wrong, do you think short and sweet?
Yeah.
Right? Like they're
short
quick
to the
songs,
point.
right?
Right.
The Living End's songs on that first album are all 3 to 4 minutes long. But they are still to the point. It's still succinct. It's not like, and this is not a discouragement on, I love a lot of punk music, but a lot of the times it feels like they repeat the chorus 2-3 times in order to get to 2 minutes.
Okay. Yeah,
Where
yeah.
like the writer of the song's like, I said what I needed to say. And then they're like, yeah, why don't we loop the chorus? Yeah, and then we'll
If you
fade
want to
out.
sell records, you need a 2 minute. Sorry, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like you like
You want to be on the radio,
we're
kid?
not asking you to cut it down to 305, BJ, but we're gonna need at least 2 minutes. The song's 112. Yep, you better find 48 more seconds of song.
Guess what happens when you say la 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 la?
Yep. Oh, and then we'll layer it over itself
Yeah,
until
there
it's
you
a
go.
cacophony of laws.
Cacophony of Law sounds like an awesome punk band, by the
Yes,
way.
it really does, right? I was quite proud of it. It just came to me. So their first album, The Living End, and their follow-up album, Roll On, these are two albums that like mean so much to me. They define my high school experience. And then like just because I put them on my sister's iPod, they came to define her high school experience as well. Like she tells me these stories about how every morning she would listen to like Trapped from that first album, and that would be her going to school song. And like listen to that song and you're just like, well, that's friggin' depressing, kid. I'm sorry.
Oh my god.
Um but it's so it's this band that I love. And then like I felt myself as I was driving to the concert being that person like I'm going to see this band that has 15 new years of music, right?
Yeah.
And that I don't know, that
Oh
do
yeah,
not
yeah.
connect with me on that same level.
So you have to do your research. I get it.
And I did, and I tried the research, and like it still didn't work for me. Like it didn't feel like The Living End. And you know, like 13-year-old Devon was like, you want to see The Living End, Devon? You almost skipped your high school graduation to go see The Living End. And I'm like, yeah, I did, but like it's not going to be that Living End that we see, right? Like skipping
Exactly.
high school
No, man, I
graduation
get that.
would have been seeing that band. But like we still went
Yeah.
up and we got there and then we got to the venue. Now it was a Tuesday night show, right?
Yeah.
On the Facebook event, 46 people said that they were going. So like
Out of it invited like thousands.
well, I mean, just like people, like it was an event at the venue's thing, right?
So
And
46
46
people.
people said yes. And Dale and I didn't say yes, right? So that also needs to account for like maybe 100 people are going to be at this show, right? And we
Okay.
drive into where it's supposed to be, and we are convinced. We have convinced ourselves. Devon Decker in costume history levels of like convincing that doors for this show are at 7:00.
Okay.
Doors for this show were at 8:00. So we wind up in a crummy suburb of Boston that just looks like hepatitis is around. Like, don't touch anything, or you're getting Hep A, B, and C.
Like they're walking around like cartoon villains. Like they look like the Amoeba Boys from or something.
Yeah, like, and I don't want to like, and you know, I don't discourage them. I know that people do what they have to do to survive, and that we currently have a huge problem with homelessness and people going hungry. But like, you know how you see panhandlers at like off ramps of it, like they were lined up. Like here's one, and here's another one, and here's another one, and it's like. You can't say to people like that if you're the kind of people who gives them money, sorry, I just gave. Like, it set an unfortunate scene for this area, right? And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
like, we pull up to the venue, and, like, the venue is, like, one of those places where you would see a scummy punk band when you were in high school. But the difference is, I'm 15 years older now. Like it just doesn't feel like it's for me anymore.
So yeah, so it doesn't look cool. It looks depressing.
Yeah.
I totally get that, man.
And
But I mean, it would be like being way into Green Day because you listened to like Dookie, right? Or even earlier than that, like Slap Happy Hours or something, and then like going to see them now, sight unseen, you would be mortified at the band that you see now. And this is coming from somebody that enjoys them as they are now, just as much as I enjoyed them as they were then. But if I was going from that to this in one fell swoop, no, that would be a fucking nightmare, right? So I totally understand where you're coming from with that.
And yes, and Dale and I, we sat in the parking lot and we talked it out, and we're like, I know, like, we both really want to see The Living End. They mean so much to us, but like, is this where we want to see it? Is this the type of music we want to hear? Do we really want to be those people at this show who are looking forward to like their very first album of songs and really nothing else? How many of those
Yeah,
songs
and
do you
then
think they're going to do? They're,
yeah, and then you end up being the shitty bitter person at the bar in the back that's usually an old dude just yelling at the band between songs about how much they suck.
yeah,
Like you don't
right?
want to be that guy. You don't want to be that guy.
No, you don't. And that's why we ended up leaving. The other thing, right? There's a factor that I failed to mention: 3 fucking opening acts,
Oh
and not
God.
opening acts that
Yeah.
like
So like, and
two,
at
and also
starting at 8, 3 opening acts, they wouldn't go on until midnight anyway. So
right, and the venue says that the show is going until midnight 30, right? So, and then like I gotta drive home and I gotta work the next day. It was sort of this moment where I thought to myself, I'm officially uncool.
you got old, man.
Yeah. But you know what? Like, I've come to terms with it, right? Other things interest me the way that they interested me when I was younger. Really,
Yeah.
what it means is that you can't live in the past, right? Nostalgia is a fine distraction, but if you were to ever try to re-immerse yourself in that, all of the experiences that came afterwards would just be disappointing.
Hmm.
That being said, if you can get a copy of The Living End's The Living End and Roll On and listen to it like just one double feature of albums, that is a pretty great stereophonic experience.
Awesome. Fantastic, man.
There you go.
Well, I don't know what else we got, Devin. I mean, we did music, we did movies, we did television shows.
You know what we should talk about as like we just have a little bit left? How do you feel about the Mayweather-McGregor fight? Do you have any opinion on it?
I do have an opinion on it, and my opinion is they took all the fun out of it. Like, I cannot believe how upsetting it was just to know this fight existed. Because who do you root for? Like, what is the point of a fight where with no heroes? Like, it was just upsetting. McGregor's an idiot for the things that he said and did, and Mayweather's been an idiot all along. So, like, I can't believe, like, anyway, why? What are your thoughts on the matter?
My thoughts on the matter are, I should become a boxer, right? Win or lose, you're getting paid $75 million.
Yeah.
And that's just from the fight. That's not talking about the other stuff. Like, the reason why both of these guys became villains is because, like, this fight happened this past weekend, right? How long has it been since you've been hearing about this fight?
Yeah, I know,
How
right?
long has it been part of the cultural consciousness?
Since we were kids, as far as I can tell.
Yeah, right. After Saturday morning cartoons was bowling, and after bowling, Mayweather and McGregor said that one day we're going to fight.
And then they said some terrible shit about each other and their significant others and shit.
Yeah, right.
It was
And they laughed.
so angering.
And it really didn't come to a head for me until I was watching Part of the Interruption on Friday, and Wilbon was off. Rachel Nichols was sitting in for him, and she did something that I'd like to spotlight it because I thought it was very bold. She's like, I'm not going to give any money to this fight, and I would recommend that everybody does not give money to this fight because we need to tell the world that this is not the entertainment we want. Because
Right.
the only reason that this is happening is because they're convinced that they're going to have a glorious payday from it. But imagine if no one bought the pay-per-view. Imagine if, like you, people were like, I'm tired of this. These guys have crossed the line. It's not entertainment anymore. It's just disappointment. And it could be the greatest fight ever, but it's not worthy of my time right now. It's not worthy of my dollars.
Yeah.
And I thought that was super bold because the show immediately after it spent 15 minutes on the fight. And it's just like, good for you for saying that. And it's like, and all this talk about is the fix in, right? Are we going to have it like, thank God it didn't end within like the first 3 rounds. Thank God it wasn't like those old Mike Tyson fights that like ended in the first, like you turned on the pay-per-view, you went to get popcorn, fight's over. I missed the whole fight because you wanted Jiffy Pop.
I mean, that's like every UFC fight nowadays is basically that. But yeah, I mean, like I just don't know how to feel about any of this stuff, man, because like she's totally right in that this is not the kind of entertainment that we want. We need to make sure that people understand that. But like, how do you stop people from watching this stuff? There's no way. And they learn nothing from this.
And it's so prescient to an argument that you and I often make. And that's, if we didn't go to these DC movies, like, but it's packaged into something that like I think more of our society can understand and comes to terms with, right? Sports is still the greatest circus that we give to the masses.
Mm-hmm.
And when you put it in terms of sports being like, if we don't give them our money, then the entertainment will change. I think that's different than like, maybe don't go to opening night of Justice League and send them a message.
Yeah, more people connect with it, and more people understand it, and more people can see the problems with it. That, you know, the kind of stuff that you and I pick apart in those movies is nothing compared to the problems that are addressed with this fight, right? And so, like, it's just more visible.
Yes, I mean, just because it's a bigger canvas, of course, it's going to be more visible.
Right.
But it's just, I thought it was an interesting dynamic switch against the kind of like, the stakes are the same, but like the arenas are just so different. And that's very interesting to me. Had to say it.
Yeah, man. No,
I didn't watch the fight. I didn't go anywhere. Like I thought like, oh, I'll go to like the place I get chicken wings and they'll have it on, right? And I'm not supporting the fight. I'm supporting this restaurant that I like to go to. But I'm like, but I don't really care, right? Like, I've heard so much about it, and like right now, all I want to do, I want to watch it to see if it ends in like the first round, and it's an upset, so that immediately we're hearing Mayweather McGregor 2. This time is personal. Like I like the best part is I don't think that the way it went that they're going to announce the rematch anytime soon.
Well, yeah, man.
I don't know. Rocky 2.
I don't know.
Rocky 2 is a good movie.
All I know is that if they ever do have a rematch, whoever wins, we lose.
Powerful stuff. Powerful stuff from the Midwest.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm spent, man.
I know. No, that's totally.
That
I'm sorry.
Took it out of me. Literally, that fight took it out of me.
All right. So since Siegen is spent, I'll do our little wrap up here. We are the Say Report. If you want to comment on anything Siegen had to say this week, he is at Siege versus the World on Twitter. If you want to yell at me as like, why did I waste so many brain cells on April O'Neil's progeny? I can be reached at Devon D. Decker.
I wonder if anybody knows how to spell siege. SEJ versus the world. I should have said that a long time ago. Here we are, 30, 31, 32.
32. You know what the fun thing about that is? I'm glad that we finally addressed it. I wasn't going to spell it until you did. Because Siege, and I got to tell you, I didn't know. I didn't know how to find you on Twitter. You got one new follower, buddy, because it's me. Because it's SEJ.
J. There you go.
VS the world.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Enough from us. Let's turn it over to an actual British person, right? Because I'm sure that something words make sense. Love you all.
Thank you for listening to the Say Report with your host Devon Decker and Siegen Serwick. Please follow the guys on Twitter and Facebook by searching for The Say Report, and you can always subscribe on your podcast channel so this is delivered straight to you and you can enjoy it every week. With apologies to your mother, we'll see you next time.